Joe Schoen met the media on the week of the bye, which GMs usually do. And I'm sorry. I mean, we could go through all of it. And if you watch the press conference, he has nothing to say. There's nothing. It's almost a waste of time listening to him because there's nothing to say with the record that they have, with the amount of losses that they have, with the way things have gone over the last 3 years. There's nothing to say. And the main point of it was, and if you watch it, Pat Leonard, who, let's be fair, has it in for them. Like, let's just be totally fair. I mean, he is quite clearly on the side of they all need to go. And right now it's hard to disagree with him, but he was right. He had holding his feet to the fire on what was said about the idea that Brian Daboll had to go. And everybody else is being held accountable for this disaster. And why should Joe Schoen continue to be the guy? And there is no answer. And I'm hoping that the disaster of Monday night and the embarrassment of Monday night is enough to show this ownership group. And then you watch him squirm up there saying, and I know everyone's making fun of him, Joe Schoen kept repeating the idea of, I understand the question. He said it to every single tough question. He was like me writing an English paper in 11th and 12th grade, repeating the first two lines of the question in my answer. Like, we all did it, right? You took it gave you the first paragraph.
You needed to, fill the word count.
That's absolutely right. You need to fill the word counter. You had that first paragraph was built in. I repeated the word of the question. He kept on going back to, listen, I understand the question. I understand the question. Yeah, that's all you understand. Because right now you don't understand how to build a football team. And watching him squirm like that, and watching what has become to this, what has happened to this team over the last couple of years, whether it's everything we went over last night, and obviously a big talking point was Abdul Carter, and the idea that, he's missing meetings, and you heard the press conference that he gave after the game. I didn't hear the first answer of, crap happens, bleep happens, that he gave to the media, which sounded awful because I was driving in yesterday listening to the Giants postgame show, and they only played him talking later in this press conference where he accepted accountability, and he said it wasn't Kafka, it was him. And yet, the whole tenor of that press conference sounded different when you listen to it in full as he's telling you, well, crap happens, what are you going to do? I've answered that question already. I don't know if he does get it. I don't know if he gets it. And more than that, Joe Schoen standing up there and trying to tell you why he is the guy to lead this franchise moving forward. There's nothing to say. He's got no answers whatsoever. He's stammering up there. When he's pushed on it, when he's pushed on the record, when he's asked to explain what went wrong and what he has specifically done, because you could always say, well, I'm part of it. It stops with me. I have to do this. I have to be better at. Well, exactly what do you have to be better at? And he literally doesn't know what to say because there's nothing to say. And I almost felt bad for him because there is nothing to say when your record and the losing is as bad as it's been for as long as it's been. And you're firing everyone else around you. Daboll had to go. Shane Bowen had to go. Everybody pretty much wants Kafka out now. And that's really where I want to focus my attention on two separate things here. One, is he going to be back? Now, he said multiple times in the press conference when asked about this that the team and ownership is going to evaluate everyone, including him, at the end of this. And as they should. And then they will make a decision based on what they should do after the evaluation process, even at the GM position. Now, a lot of people are reading into that as to say, well, clearly that means he's being evaluated. I think there's a good chance that he's not coming back. I have a hard time believing that they are letting him do this. I mean, I know he's meeting the media. I know as long as he's in place, there's nothing they could do but help him, but have him meet the media. But they go through all of this, and you hear about the young, talented nucleus, right? And he gives you everything. Like, you go through it, and he starts trying to give you the same stuff that I will tell you that moving forward, why the team does have a positive outlook. He talked about a bunch of different times. You have the young quarterback on a 4-year deal. You have edge rushers. You have an offensive line. You have Andrew Thomas. You have a young running back room. You have Malik Neighbors, who broke records last year as a rookie wide receiver. You've got pieces here moving forward that would make this team desirable to anybody. And the hope, because I don't think, if you are hopeful as I am, as most Giant fans are, that Joe Schoen is no longer going to be the man residing over this team, no longer going to be the person making this top 5 pick come the draft, no longer the one evaluating this roster, putting together this roster after the disaster that has been the last couple of years, when he is tied to the hip for me with Joe Schoen, and somehow he's escaped the blame that Joe Schoen lost, that Brian Daboll lost his job for. But the one hope is, and it's been reported, that he's probably safe, because the Giants sound like, the ownership group sounds like they believe in that. They believe that he's put together a good core. They believe he's drafted a stud wide receiver and picked the right quarterback. And to be fair, that is the biggest, most difficult thing you can do in the NFL. We see teams left and right struggle with finding the quarterback. And whether or not it was all Brian Daboll, or whether or not, it's an organizational decision. He's the GM. He gets credit for drafting Jackson Dart. There's no doubt about it. He gets credit for it. I don't know if you can hang your hat on it as some sort of gold standard after you've been a losing franchise like this and embarrassed on Monday Night Football as they were against the New England Patriots team, who was able to turn it around instantly. Within a year, they're back on top. But he was able to do that. He's got the young pieces he's talking about. I don't think, and we all know what's going on with John Mara, right? We all know that John Mara is dealing with a health issue. We all understand that John Mara most likely does not want to go through another search of a GM. We all understand that John Mara believes that even if you don't think the pieces or the team has been that good, that they blame the coach more for that than they do the GM. They're impressed with the way he goes about his business. And it's not hard. Like, let's be totally honest. They came from Dave Gettleman. The idea that this guy has put together a sound scouting department and that he's using computers and that he's somehow innovative in these departments, it probably is a big, leap for them, because they're coming from Dave Gettleman, who probably did it with, a loose leaf notebook and a pencil. So I think they're rather impressed with him. I think they believe the roster is better than this. They see how competitive he is. And I doubt very much they're inclined to move on from him. To me, the question that mattered most, and the topic that came up that really is to the heart of whether or not Joe Schoen's going to stay and be the man here at this team moving forward as the GM, is who is the coach going to be? Who is the coach going to be? And it's been reported that most likely Joe Schoen is going to stay unless they get, and I'll scream again from the rooftops about Mike Tomlin, unless they get a Mike Tomlin type or a Mike Vrabel type or a Bill Belichick type, if they are going to bring in a big-time coach with a track record who has the gravitas to tell them, I am not working with Joe Schoen. Outside of that, I don't think, if they're going to hire a coordinator, if they are going to allow Joe Schoen, I don't care what was said at the press conference. I don't care how bad he looked. I don't care how much he talked about the ownership group going to evaluate everything. I don't care. I have no expectation of Joe Schoen being let go from this position if he is going to be allowed to lead the coaching search that will then turn to a coordinator, offensive, defense, young coach. If they're going to go to the same process they have gone to every single time over the last 5 hires, you can't tell me they're going to allow him to make that kind of decision and then move on from him, or be the man who begins that search and then move on from him. If they bring in the right coach who can say, I'm running the ship, you want me to come here, I have to have people in place that I trust and I've worked with, and Joe Schoen ain't it. That's it. And what scared me the most in that endeavor and that thought process leading in and into that press conference that he gave earlier today was when asked about that, when talking about the coaching search and talking about as great a job as this is, and I totally agree with him. Everything he said, I'm on board with. That they do have the young quarterback on a rookie contract for the next 4 years. That they do have Malik Neighbors. That they do have Cam Scatterbo. That they do have these pieces in place. That they have some edge rushers. That they have Dexter Lawrence. That they have Andrew Thomas. I agree with all that. But he's asked specifically at the end of the press conference about whether or not a coach that they would want would be willing to come here if he is still the general manager. And his answer is what scares me. Because it was flippant, it was quick, it was directly to the point. By the judge of my phone calls, I can tell you we won't have a problem filling the position. That's what, he was so quick to answer that in a press conference where I would say 80% of the questions began with, well, I understand the question, and it's not good enough. And when pressed about, well, what's not good enough? Are you not drafting well enough? Are you not scouting well enough? Are you not signing the right players in free agency? What's not good enough specifically, Joe? I understand the question. Look, it's not good enough, 2 wins. That's all he had to say. He had nothing to say on about, 80 to 90% of the questions. But when asked about whether or not a coach would want to come here and work with him, which would be going into year 5 of a losing team, 3 straight losing seasons, already fired a coach, already fired a coordinator. Would a coach have a problem coming in here and working with you? By the amount of phone calls I've gotten, I can tell you we're not going to have trouble filling the position. I'm sorry. I hope I'm wrong. And it's nothing personal against Joe Schoen, because there have been some hits. You have as many first-round picks, as many opportunities to get quality players as Joe Schoen has. You're not going to miss on all of them. Burns was a good trade. Neighbors was a good pick. Obviously, he did hit the quarterback. We all believe in Jackson Dart. But the fact of the matter is, all of those hits, it's not enough. And you see the coach get fired and the team play the same way. You see the defensive coordinator get fired and the team be as bad defensively. He talked about it in the press conference. They invested how much stock into this defense. They take the best defensive player, 3rd overall. He puts all that money into the defensive backfield. I believe it's the 2nd or 3rd most expensive defense in the NFL. And they're just as bad as they were last year. They were 30th last year. They're 30th this year. This is not all on coaching. The roster isn't good enough. I didn't hear anybody ask about the kicking situation, which blew my mind. But you've got the kicking situation, which has been a disaster for years. You've got, how many games did they not have a kicker? You've got a defense that he specifically targeted. He talked about how the offense got better. It did with drafting Jackson Dart. Because there's this thought process of, you've been saying for years, you guys have built a good team, you need good quarterback play. With good quarterback play, you guys would turn it around. And yet you're getting good quarterback play, and you still only have 2 wins. And he's right, the offense is top 10. And the offense has been better. And the offense is what's kept them in games against the Lions, and the Bears, and the Broncos, and the Packers, and so on and so forth. But he made it a point over the last 2 years to improve this defense. And last year in free agency, went out and tried to fill the positions he let go in Xavier McKinney and Love. And try and replace your number 1 cornerback with a terrible first-round pick in Banks. He specifically targeted the defense, and he failed miserably. He's got nothing to point to why he's less to blame than Brian Dable or anybody else who's already lost their job. And the only way this is going to, I'm telling you, they're not going to move on from him unless they can bring in a coach who wants to. A coach like Mike Tomlin. A coach like Bill Belichick who doesn't want to work with him. Outside of that, they believe the roster is better than this. They believe it's the coaching for its failures. They believe that they are so good at this that just look how much the phone is ringing off the hook. Everybody's going to want this job. I mean, it's laughable. You don't think they want to come work for me? Go into my office and sit there and watch the phone ring. That was a man just trying to get through an awful day that he had to do. He had no answers on any real questions. And the only question, I mean, yes, he talked about them evaluating his job. Absolutely. They've already evaluated his job. And they've decided not only is he going to stay, but he's going to lead the coaching search. Maybe I'm wrong. I heard Evan be optimistic from some of the comments that makes him think Joe Schoen could be on the way out. To me, unless you get a big-time head coach who becomes the face of the franchise and decides that he doesn't want to work with Joe Schoen, there is no way Joe Schoen is leaving at this point. And how quickly he said, we're not going to have any problem filling the position. And talked about how, well, if you were a coordinator right now, look at what we've got. You're going to want to run here. Coordinator. Phone off the hook. Look at all the pieces we have. Joe Schoen's going nowhere.